Have you ever stared at the reflection in your mirror and wondered about the stranger staring back at you? Not the physical features, but the essence of who you really are. The truth is, that reflection holds more power than you've ever dared to imagine. A revelation that changed everything for me. It wasn't in some grand moment of enlightenment. It happened on an ordinary Tuesday afternoon in a crowded diner. I watched as a young waitress dropped an entire tray of dishes. The crash was deafening. The silence that followed was even louder. But what happened next was extraordinary. Instead of crumbling under the weight of dozens of eyes staring at her, instead of letting that moment define her entire day, or worse, her sense of self, she did something remarkable. She smiled. Not a practiced smile, not a defensive one. A genuine smile that seemed to say, well, that happened. And then, with quiet dignity, she began picking up the pieces. That simple moment contained a profound truth about human potential. You see, power isn't about never falling. It's not about being perfect. True power lies in how we choose to respond to life's moments, both big and small. Every single day, you make approximately 35,000 decisions. From the moment you decide whether to hit the snooze button, to choosing what to eat for breakfast, to how you respond to challenges at work, to whether you'll keep that promise you made to yourself about exercise. Each of these decisions might seem small in isolation, but together they create the tapestry of your life. But here's what most people never realize. Each of those 35,000 decisions is a moment of power. Each one is an opportunity to shape your reality. Each one is a chance to prove to yourself that you are far more capable than you've been led to believe. Consider the story of a young man who worked as a janitor in a small office building. Every night while others slept, he would clean the same floors, empty the same trash cans, wipe the same windows. But he did something different. He began using his time to study. He would pick up discarded newspapers and read them cover to cover. He would borrow books from the office library and read them during his breaks. He taught himself accounting by studying the discarded worksheets he found in the trash. 5 years later, he wasn't just working in one of those offices. He owned the company. Not because of luck, not because of connections, but because he understood something fundamental about human potential. We become what we consistently do. The power I'm talking about isn't the kind that comes with a corner office or a fancy title. It's not the kind that requires permission from others. It's the kind of power that resides in the quiet moments when you choose to push forward instead of giving up. It's the power that lives in the space between stimulus and response. A time when someone told you that you couldn't do something. Remember how that felt? That surge of emotion, that mix of hurt and anger and determination. That was power. Raw, untapped power. Some people let that moment defeat them. Others use it as fuel to prove the doubters wrong. The difference isn't in the circumstance, it's in the choice. Let me share another truth that might shake you. Everything you believe about your limitations is learned. Everything. You weren't born believing you couldn't speak in public. You weren't born thinking you couldn't start your own business. You weren't born convinced that your dreams were too big. These are all learned beliefs accumulated over years of listening to well-meaning people who were themselves operating from a place of learned limitations. There's a fascinating experiment that was conducted with elephants in captivity. When they're young, they're tied to a strong stake with a heavy chain. They try to break free, but they can't. Eventually, they stop trying. Later, when they're fully grown and powerful enough to uproot entire trees, they can be held in place with a simple rope tied to a small stake. Why? Because they learned their limitations when they were young, and they never thought to question them again. How many of us are like those elephants? How many of us are held in place not by real chains, but by the limitations we learned so long ago that we've forgotten they're not actually real? The most powerful force in the human personality is the need to remain consistent with how we define ourselves. If you define yourself as someone who just can't lose weight, guess what? You'll find a way to prove yourself right. If you define yourself as someone who isn't good with money, you'll act in ways that confirm that belief. But here's the liberating truth. You can choose to redefine yourself at any moment. Consider this. Every great achievement in human history started with someone deciding to question their assumed limitations. The first person to run a 4-minute mile was told it was physically impossible. The first person to suggest that humans could fly was laughed at. The first person to propose that diseases could be prevented by washing hands was ridiculed by the medical establishment. But here's what's remarkable. Once these barriers were broken, once someone proved these limitations were imaginary, others quickly followed. Within just 1 year of the first 4-minute mile, 16 other runners had done the same thing. Nothing about human physiology had changed. What changed was what people believed was possible. Your power doesn't come from your circumstances, it comes from your responses. It comes from the stories you tell yourself about who you are and what you're capable of. It comes from your willingness to question the limitations you've accepted as truth. Think about water for a moment. In its liquid form, it flows around obstacles, always finding a path forward. When it's frozen, it becomes so powerful it can split rocks. When it's heated, it creates steam that can drive engines. Water doesn't change its essential nature, it's still H2O. But by changing its state, it changes what it's capable of. You are like that water. Your essential nature, your potential, doesn't change. But by changing your state, your beliefs, your habits, your responses, you change what you're capable of achieving. Two workers in a stone quarry. When asked what they were doing, the first one said, "I'm cutting stones." The second one said, "I'm building a cathedral." Same task, entirely different perspective. The first worker saw limitations, the second saw possibility. The first was focused on the immediate task. The second was connected to a greater purpose. Which do you think was more fulfilled? Which do you think did better work? Which do you think was more likely to rise to greater challenges? The power I'm talking about isn't something you need to acquire. It's something you need to uncover. It's already there, waiting to be acknowledged and used. It's in your ability to choose your response to any situation. It's in your capacity to learn and grow. It's in your power to question and change your beliefs about what's possible. Your brain contains roughly 86 billion neurons, making trillions of connections. This complex network is more powerful than any computer ever built. It can process information, solve problems, create art, imagine new possibilities, and learn any skill. And this incredible power sits right between your ears, available to you every single moment of every single day. But how often do we use this power to its full potential? How often do we instead use it to reinforce our limitations, to repeat old patterns, to stay safely within our comfort zones? The truth is, most people are living far below their potential. They're using a fraction of their true power. They're like someone with a Ferrari who never takes it out of first gear. They have the capacity for greatness, but they've settled for mediocrity. Not because they want to, but because they've never realized how much power they actually possess. Let me share a principle that might change your entire perspective. The way you do anything is the way you do everything. Think about that for a moment. The care and attention you bring to making your bed in the morning reflects how you approach your work. The way you treat the janitor reflects how you'll treat your future employees. The promises you keep to yourself reflect how you'll keep promises to others. This principle reveals something profound about personal power. It's not about doing extraordinary things. It's about doing ordinary things in extraordinary ways. It's about bringing your full attention and intention to everything you do, no matter how small it might seem. Consider the story of a young apprentice who was tasked with sweeping the workshop floor. Instead of seeing it as a menial task, he approached it with complete dedication. He studied the patterns of dust accumulation. He experimented with different sweeping techniques. He figured out the optimal time of day to sweep. His master noticed this dedication and began teaching him more advanced skills. Years later, when asked about the secret to his success, he said, "I learned everything I needed to know about mastery while sweeping that floor." The power to transform your life doesn't usually come in dramatic moments. It comes in the quiet decisions you make when no one is watching. It comes in choosing to do the right thing, even when the wrong thing is easier. It comes in deciding to face your fears instead of running from them. It comes in choosing growth over comfort, again and again and again. The last time you faced a significant challenge, remember the thoughts that went through your mind. Remember the emotions you felt. Remember the choices you made. Now imagine if you had approached that challenge with the absolute certainty that you were powerful enough to handle it. How would that have changed your response? How would that have changed the outcome? The truth is, you were powerful enough to handle it. You are powerful enough to handle whatever challenges life throws at you. The only question is whether you're ready to believe that truth and act accordingly. Your power lies in your ability to choose. Choose your thoughts. Choose your responses. Choose your habits. Choose your beliefs. Choose who you want to become. Every moment of every day, you're making choices that either move you toward your potential or keep you stuck where you are. Consider this. Every master was once a beginner. Every expert was once a novice. Every successful person once faced the same doubts and fears you're facing right now. The difference isn't in their circumstances or their natural abilities. The difference is in what they chose to believe about themselves and what they chose to do with those beliefs. Let me share a simple but profound truth. The only limitations that have any real power over you are the ones you accept as true. Read that again. Let it sink in. The only limitations that have any real power over you are the ones you accept as true. This means that your power to change your life is far greater than you've imagined. It means that the barriers you see aren't walls. They're windows waiting to be opened. It means that the doubts you feel aren't stop signs. They're challenges waiting to be overcome. A skill you've mastered in your life. Maybe it's driving a car, or cooking a particular dish, or using a specific tool. Remember when that skill seemed impossible? Remember when you thought you'd never get it right? Remember the frustration and the doubt? Now that skill is so natural you barely think about it. What changed? The skill didn't get easier. You got better. You proved to yourself that you could learn, adapt, and master something new. That same power, the power to learn, to adapt, to master, is available to you in every area of your life. The only question is, are you ready to use it? Your power isn't something that needs to be created. It needs to be unleashed. It's like a mighty river that's been dammed up by doubts, fears, and limiting beliefs. Remove those barriers, and your natural power will flow freely, carrying you toward your goals and dreams with unstoppable momentum. Remember the waitress in the diner? Her power wasn't in preventing the dishes from falling. Her power was in choosing how to respond when they did. Your power isn't in avoiding challenges or preventing failures. Your power is in how you choose to respond to whatever life presents you with. The most powerful question you can ask yourself is this: what would I do if I knew I couldn't fail? Really think about that. What dreams would you pursue? What goals would you set? What actions would you take? Now ask yourself, what if the only thing standing between you and those dreams is your belief about what's possible? The truth is, you are far more powerful than you think. You have within you the capacity to learn any skill, overcome any obstacle, achieve any goal. The only question is, are you ready to prove it to yourself? Your journey to claiming your power starts with a single decision. The decision to believe in your own potential. Everything else flows from that. When you truly believe in your power, your actions change. When your actions change, your results change. When your results change, your life changes. The power has always been yours. It's time to claim it. Remember, the person you become is determined by the choices you make. Not next week, not next month, not next year. Right now, in this moment, with the next decision you make, you are more powerful than you think. You always have been. You always will be. The only question is, what are you going to do with that power? The choice, as always, is yours. Let's talk about something that might make you uncomfortable. Responsibility. Not the kind of responsibility that comes with a job title or a role. I'm talking about total, complete responsibility for every aspect of your life. This is where your true power begins. Most people spend their lives in what we might call the waiting room. They're waiting for the perfect moment, waiting for permission, waiting for someone to discover their talents, waiting for their circumstances to change. But here's the truth that might shake you. The perfect moment is a myth, permission is a cage, and circumstances don't change until you do. Consider this. Every morning, millions of people wake up and immediately begin giving their power away. They give it to their alarm clock, cursing it for disturbing their sleep. They give it to the weather, letting it determine their mood. They give it to the traffic, allowing it to raise their blood pressure. They give it to their coworkers, their boss, the news, the economy, and countless other external factors. But what if you decided to stop giving your power away? What if you decided to take full responsibility not just for your actions, but for your reactions? What if you decided that nothing and no one could make you feel anything without your permission? A man who worked in a factory for 30 years. Every day he would complain about the noise, the heat, the working conditions. Every day he would tell anyone who would listen how the job was slowly killing him. One day, someone asked him why he didn't quit and find something else. His response: and give up all this job security? Do you see the irony? He had given away his power so completely that he couldn't even see he was choosing his prison. He had confused familiarity with security, comfort with happiness. Your power lies in recognizing that you are not a victim of your circumstances. You are the architect of them. Every decision you make, every habit you form, every belief you hold is either building the life you want or reinforcing the life you have. When you say, I can't, what you really mean is I won't. When you say it's too hard, what you really mean is I'm not willing to do what it takes. When you say I don't have time, what you really mean is it's not a priority. These aren't comfortable truths, but power isn't found in comfort. Power is found in confronting these hard truths and deciding to do something about them. Remember the young apprentice who mastered sweeping? His power wasn't in the broom. It was in his decision to find meaning and opportunity in whatever he was doing. Your power isn't in your circumstances. It's in your response to them. Let me share something that might surprise you. Successful people fail more often than unsuccessful people. The difference is that successful people own their failures. They don't blame circumstances. They don't make excuses. They look at their failures square in the face and ask, what can I learn from this? A garden for a moment. A gardener doesn't blame the soil for being poor. They enrich it. They don't blame the weather for being unfavorable. They adapt to it. They don't blame the seeds for not growing. They learn better cultivation techniques. They take full responsibility for the garden's success or failure. You are the gardener of your life. Every thought you plant, every habit you cultivate, every decision you make is either enriching your garden or allowing weeds to grow. The power lies in recognizing that you always have a choice about what you plant and how you tend it. Here's another uncomfortable truth. Everything in your life right now is there because you've allowed it to be there. Your relationships, your health, your finances, your career, all of these are the result of choices you've made or failed to make. This isn't about blame. This is about power. Because once you accept that you've created your current reality through your choices, you also accept that you have the power to create a different reality through different choices. Consider this. Every great achievement began with someone deciding to take responsibility for making it happen. The Wright brothers didn't wait for someone to invent flight. They decided to figure it out themselves. The great civil rights leaders didn't wait for change to happen. They took responsibility for creating it. The greatest inventors didn't wait for someone else to solve problems. They took responsibility for finding solutions. Your power grows in direct proportion to the responsibility you're willing to accept. The more responsibility you take, the more power you claim. The more excuses you make, the more power you surrender. The areas of your life where you feel powerless. Now ask yourself, what would change if you decided to take 100% responsibility for those areas? What would change if you stopped blaming circumstances, stopped making excuses, and started making different choices? The truth is, you already have the power to change any aspect of your life. You have the power to learn any skill. You have the power to overcome any obstacle. You have the power to achieve any goal. But this power only becomes active when you accept complete responsibility for using it. Let me share a principle that has transformed countless lives. Your life moves in the direction of your strongest thoughts. If you constantly think about what's wrong, you'll find more things that are wrong. If you constantly think about what's possible, you'll find more possibilities. If you constantly think about solutions, you'll find more solutions. This isn't positive thinking. This is strategic thinking. This is about consciously choosing where to focus your mental energy. This is about taking responsibility for your thought patterns and their inevitable consequences. Consider a ship at sea. The captain can't control the weather or the waves, but the captain can control the ship's direction, its speed, and how it responds to conditions. The captain takes responsibility not for the conditions, but for how the ship handles them. You are the captain of your life. You can't control everything that happens to you, but you can control your response to everything that happens. This is where your true power lies. The most powerful people you know, not just people with titles or money, but people who seem to move through life with purpose and impact. What do they all have in common? They take responsibility. They don't waste energy blaming or complaining. They focus their energy on what they can control and influence. Your power isn't something that needs to be given to you. It's something you need to stop giving away. It's something you need to claim through your choices, your actions, and most importantly, through your willingness to take responsibility. Remember, every time you make an excuse, you give away your power. Every time you blame circumstances, you give away your power. Every time you wait for permission, you give away your power. But here's the good news. You can reclaim your power at any moment. You can reclaim it by deciding that from this moment forward, you are responsible for your life. All of it. The good and the bad, the successes and the failures, the opportunities and the obstacles. This decision, the decision to take complete responsibility, is perhaps the most powerful decision you can make. Because once you make it, everything changes. Your perspective changes. Your actions change. Your results change. The power has always been yours. The responsibility has always been yours. The choice has always been yours, and what will you choose? There's something extraordinary that happens when you finally understand your true power. The world doesn't change. You do. And when you change, everything changes. Power that most people never recognize. It's the power of small actions, consistently taken. You see, most people are waiting for some grand moment of transformation. They're waiting to make the big decision, take the giant leap, achieve the breakthrough that will suddenly transform their lives. But true power works differently. It's like the Grand Canyon, not carved by a single cataclysmic event, but by the consistent flow of water, day after day, year after year, century after century. The power that carved one of the world's most magnificent features wasn't in the force of the water. It was in its persistence. Think about this. Every major achievement in your life started with a single step. Your first word, your first step, your first day at school. None of these were dramatic moments. They were simple actions that, repeated and built upon, led to profound transformations. The power you possess isn't just in your ability to make big changes. It's in your ability to make small changes consistently. It's in your ability to show up, day after day, and do what needs to be done, regardless of how you feel. Consider the humble bamboo plant. For 4 years after being planted, it shows virtually no growth above ground. But during those years, it's building an elaborate root system underground. Then, in the 5th year, it suddenly grows up to 90 feet in just 6 weeks. The question is, did the bamboo grow 90 feet in 6 weeks, or did it grow 90 feet in 5 years? Your power works the same way. Every small action you take, every good habit you form, every positive thought you cultivate is like those bamboo roots, creating a foundation for explosive growth that others might see as overnight success. Let me share something profound. The most powerful moment in your life isn't in your past, and it isn't in your future. It's right now, this moment, because this is the only moment where you can exercise your power to choose. A master craftsman working with stone. They don't try to force the stone into shape all at once. They make small, precise strikes, each one carefully placed, each one building on the ones before. Their power isn't in any single strike. It's in the accumulation of perfectly placed taps that eventually reveal the masterpiece within. You are both the craftsman and the stone. Each choice you make, each action you take, each thought you think is like one of those careful strikes, slowly but surely revealing the masterpiece that is your true potential. Here's a truth that might shake you. The person you are right now is the person you've chosen to be through thousands of small decisions. The person you'll be tomorrow, next month, next year is being determined by the decisions you're making right now. The power to change your life doesn't come from outside circumstances changing. It comes from you changing how you operate within those circumstances. It comes from you deciding to be different, to think different, to act different, regardless of what's happening around you. Remember the waitress who dropped the dishes? Her power wasn't just in how she responded in that moment. It was in who she had chosen to be long before that moment ever happened. She had built herself into someone who could face embarrassment with grace, who could maintain dignity under pressure, who could choose her response rather than react automatically. You have that same power. You can build yourself into someone who faces challenges with courage, who meets setbacks with resilience, who approaches opportunities with confidence, not through some magical transformation, but through consistent, conscious choices. Water again. A single drop of water seems powerless, but a steady stream of drops can wear away stone. A sufficient quantity of drops can generate enough power to light up cities. A mass of drops in motion can reshape continents. You are like that water. Each choice you make might seem small and insignificant in isolation, but the steady stream of your choices, the accumulated weight of your decisions, the momentum of your actions, these have the power to reshape your entire world. Here's the hook that brings it all together. Your power isn't in what you can do, it's in what you choose to do. It's not in your capacity, it's in your consistency. It's not in your potential, it's in your persistence. Every great story of transformation, every tale of triumph, every example of extraordinary achievement comes down to this simple truth. Someone decided to tap into their power through consistent, conscious choice. The mirror you looked into this morning, look into it again tomorrow. The person staring back at you isn't just who you are, it's who you're choosing to be. Every decision you make today is either strengthening or weakening that person. Every action you take is either expanding or contracting your power. Your power isn't something you need to find. It's something you need to use. It's not something you need to acquire. It's something you need to apply. It's not something you need to learn. It's something you need to live. Remember, the most powerful force in your life isn't your circumstances, your past, your limitations, or your fears. The most powerful force in your life is your choice in this moment and the next moment and every moment that follows. You are more powerful than you think, not because of what you can do in some imagined future, but because of what you can choose to do right now. Your power isn't in your dreams of tomorrow, it's in your decisions today. The person who walked into this room today doesn't have to be the same person who walks out, because now you know, truly know, that you are more powerful than you think. You always have been, you always will be. The only question that remains is, what will you do with that power? The mirror awaits your answer. And so does your life. The power of your limitations. Yes, you heard that right. Your limitations, the very things you think are holding you back, might be the key to unleashing your greatest power. A river for a moment. What gives it its power? Is it the water flowing freely across an open plain? Number. It's the banks that contain it. It's the narrow channels that focus its force. It's the restrictions that transform ordinary flow into extraordinary power. Your limitations can serve the same purpose. They can focus your energy, sharpen your creativity, and force you to find solutions you never would have discovered otherwise. The question isn't whether you have limitations. Everyone does. The question is, how will you use them? Consider the story of a small neighborhood grocery store. When a large supermarket chain opened nearby, everyone thought the small store would fail. The owner couldn't compete on price, couldn't compete on selection, couldn't compete on hours. These were real limitations. But instead of giving up, the owner did something remarkable. He turned his limitations into advantages. He couldn't stock everything, so he stocked only the best quality. He couldn't serve everyone, so he focused on knowing his customers personally. He couldn't compete on price, so he competed on service. Those limitations forced him to find his true power. The power of personal connection, of quality over quantity, of being different rather than trying to be bigger. Your power doesn't come from having no limitations. It comes from how you choose to work within them, around them, or through them. Sometimes, what you think is holding you back is actually setting you up for a breakthrough. The times in your life when you felt most alive, most powerful, most fully yourself. Were these times when everything was easy? When you had unlimited resources? When there were no challenges to overcome? Or were they times when you were pushed to your limits, forced to dig deeper, required to become more than you thought you could be? The truth about power is that it grows through resistance. Just like a muscle needs resistance to grow stronger, your personal power needs challenges to develop. The obstacles in your path aren't there to stop you, they're there to strengthen you. Let me share another truth that might challenge your thinking. Comfort is the enemy of power. When you're comfortable, you're not growing. When you're comfortable, you're not learning. When you're comfortable, you're not becoming more than you are. A time when you learned something new, really learned it. Maybe it was riding a bicycle or learning a new language or mastering a skill at work. Was it comfortable? Probably not. Did you fail sometimes? Almost certainly. Did you want to quit? Maybe. But you pushed through. And in pushing through, you discovered power you didn't know you had. Your greatest power often lies just beyond your comfort zone, just past the point where you want to quit, just on the other side of what you think you can do. The question is, are you willing to go there? Consider this. Every major breakthrough in human history came from someone who was willing to be uncomfortable, someone who was willing to question the accepted limitations, someone who was willing to fail, to look foolish, to be criticized, to be told they were wrong, all because they believed in something bigger than their comfort. The power you're capable of accessing isn't found in doing what's easy. It's found in doing what's necessary. It's not found in avoiding challenges. It's found in embracing them. It's not found in staying safe. It's found in taking calculated risks. Here's another dimension of power that most people never explore. The power of your words. Not just the words you speak to others, but the words you speak to yourself. The conversations you have in your own mind shape your reality more powerfully than any external force. When you say, "I can't," you're right. When you say, "I can," you're also right. The words you choose become the house your mind lives in. They become the lens through which you see every opportunity, every challenge, every possibility. The words you use most often to describe yourself, your abilities, your future, are they words of power or words of limitation? Are they words that expand your possibilities or words that constrain them? Are they words that energize you or words that drain you? Your power grows or diminishes based on the vocabulary you choose to use. When you change your words, you change your thoughts. When you change your thoughts, you change your actions. When you change your actions, you change your life. Consider this. The same event can be described as a problem or a challenge. One word creates stress and anxiety. The other creates engagement and determination. Same situation, different words, completely different emotional and psychological response. The power of your words extends beyond your internal dialogue. It shapes how others perceive you, how they respond to you, how they choose to interact with you. When you speak with power, not force, but true power, people listen. When you communicate with clarity and conviction, people respond. Let me share something profound about the nature of personal power. It's not a finite resource that gets used up. Unlike physical energy, which can be depleted, personal power grows through use. The more you exercise your power to choose, to act, to persist, the more powerful you become. Learning to read. At first, it was a struggle. Each letter had to be carefully decoded. Each word was a challenge. But the more you read, the easier it became. The more power you gained over the written word, the more doors opened to new knowledge, new understanding, new possibilities. Your personal power works the same way. Each time you make a conscious choice instead of a reactive one, you get stronger. Each time you face a fear instead of avoiding it, you get stronger. Each time you keep a promise to yourself, you get stronger. The power you possess isn't static, it's dynamic, it's not fixed, it's growing. Every choice you make either strengthens or weakens it. Every action you take either expands or contracts it. Every thought you think either amplifies or diminishes it. Remember, the person you are in this moment is not your final form. You are not finished. You are not complete. You are not stuck with the limitations you've accepted or the beliefs you've accumulated. You are in every moment becoming. The power to shape that becoming. That's your greatest power of all. Not the power to control circumstances, but the power to control your response to them. Not the power to avoid challenges, but the power to grow through them. Not the power to be perfect, but the power to be better today than you were yesterday. You are more powerful than you think. Not because of what you've done, but because of what you can still do. Not because of where you've been, but because of where you can still go. Not because of who you've been, but because of who you can still become. The mirror doesn't just show you who you are, it shows you who you're becoming. Every decision, every action, every thought is another stroke of the artist's brush, creating the masterpiece of your life. Your power isn't in your past achievements or your future potential, it's in this moment, right now. In the choices you make, in the actions you take, in the thoughts you think, in the words you speak. The only question that matters is, what will you do with that power? The mirror awaits your answer, and so does your destiny.